Ladies, gentlemen, and others, welcome back to the post-season ending. The Dodgers are World Series champions. I'm here with Alex Funderburke, Nick Geddes, and Robert Husby. First off, Robert, they finally did it. How you feeling?
Did it, man. Finally did it, man. I've been waiting my whole life for this. Being from LA, it's been a dream of mine to see the Dodgers win a World Series. They've always choked it away. They've always, in the past, they've been bounced in the first round way too early. And now they've finally done it. So, I can say I can knock that off my bucket list. I've seen the Dodgers win a World Series. It's been a long time coming. I'm so happy. And, I'm happy to be talking about this postseason.
Yeah, and I just want to give a quick shout out to the World Series MVP, Kevin Cash, for taking Blake Snell out in the sixth inning. Nick, what was that like for you watching him come out? All four pitches were on. Like what?
You know where my stance is on this and my take on the whole analytical nature of baseball. And I would be remiss if I just took a whole crap on analytics right now, because that's how the Rays got here. The Dodgers just used it to their advantage to win an entire World Series, to win the whole World Series. They just used it, whole bullpen game. I get it. I do. But at the end of the day, when you're in the biggest game of your life like that, sometimes your eyes are the most accurate thing. I promise you. And the eyes were telling everybody in the world this guy was unhittable that night. And you have to ride your best. It's about the best versus the best. The Dodgers' best was coming up. You want your best on the mound, and you're not going to convince me anybody you're bringing out of the bullpen was going to be better than Blake Snell. So you got to use your eyes. You got to have a feel for the game. I don't care what the numbers said about the third lineup. It was different. It felt different this time. It felt different, and you have to ride your best arms, and Kevin Cash did not do that.
Yeah, and the other thing that I thought was kind of weird was bringing in Nick Anderson, who at the end of it, he allowed a run in 7 straight postseason appearances. Alex, if they're going to bring in a reliever there, is Nick Anderson their best shot to keep that game 1-1 or 1-0 at that point?
I mean, I probably would have brought in Castillo because, first off, I would have kept Blake Snell in. But if you're going to bring anybody in, I would not have brought in Anderson. He hasn't been himself in the playoffs. So to see that, I was kind of like, that's questionable. You're going to take out your stud for a dude who, yes, is great, but has not been great in the playoffs. And then you don't bring in Castillo, who, albeit he hasn't been outstanding, he hasn't been bad. So you could have gone to him, but it was a questionable move by Kevin Cash for sure.
Yeah, and Nick, you mentioned it to me earlier that second and third run, especially that Mookie Betts home run. He said it felt like 10-0. I mean, did you think they had any realistic shot of coming back and winning that game?
No, to me, it just took the wind out of my cells. It took the wind out of the players' cells, and I think it showed right away. At bats got even more or less competitive than they were, and you just look at the look on everybody's face. Everybody knew that it was crap that Blake Snell was being taken out, and Kevin Kiermaier, who's kind of the leader of the team afterwards, said, I don't care what the numbers say. You got to keep him in there, and that's my whole point on it. Like I said, like earlier, the analytics, I get it. That's the way the game's going. But at some point, we have to stop, and we have to realize don't you want your best players out there? You want your best players out there, and you got to give them a chance. You got to get them a chance. And the 73 pitches, 5 1/3, 2 hits. Is that the threshold now? Is that it? Is that where we're at? Guys, they flashed a stat saying that only him and Sandy Koufax had 9 strikeouts in 4 innings of a World Series game. And, if this was 50 years ago, we wouldn't have gotten all these legendary. We wouldn't have gotten Madison Bumgarner in 2014. We wouldn't have gotten any of that. There's more than one way to win a game. And I understand the Rays, but the Rays have been so focused on doing it one way, and that's it. And it came back to bite them. And I'm not saying they were going to go on to win the game. I doubt they were going to win it 1-0. But at that moment in time, you just cannot make that move.
Yeah, and speaking onto that, the Dodgers what a weird bullpen game. I saw Alex Wood come in, and I thought, oh, we're punting. We're punting for Buehler in Game 7. Robert, you see Alex Wood come in, Victor Gonzalez come in, all those bullpen arms in that bullpen game. What was the scariest inning for you?
Yeah, I think probably Wood coming in. That was probably the moment where I was like you said, oh, here we go. Dave Roberts has given up. He's throwing in the towel. We're going game 7. But no, Alex Wood looked like he did in 2017. He looked amazing. He really, really hauled it in for them. I thought he looked great. Certainly surprised me. He definitely earned his spot. Definitely earned his ring. And then really from there, it wasn't really ever that challenging for the bullpen. I don't think. Gratterall gave up that single or double to Mike Zunino, and they pulled him right away. Gonzalez looked good. And then obviously, Julio coming in. Good Lord. I mean, is he good? I mean, just 24 years old, and he's got the confidence of a guy that's been playing for, 10 years. I mean, just one of those otherworldly performances you see only in the postseason that is just going to cement his legacy. So no, the bullpen, complete 180 from what they looked like the first time in this World Series. Great to see.
Yeah, and just Julio, man, he's been in the league for like 5 or 6 years at this point. He's an old man in terms of service time. I mean, Alex, did you think leaving? Obviously, I mean, it worked out, but if you're Dave Roberts, are you leaving Julio in for that 9th inning?
He came back out there. I was like, that's bold. I didn't like the move, but it worked out. So like, you can't complain if you're a Dodgers fan, but I really thought like, yo, don't put him back out there. Like, go to Canely, go to literally anybody. Don't let him pitch again. But I mean, yes, Canely has had his struggles, but at the end of the day, if he's on, he's still really, really good. I mean, he got out of game 7 of the NLCS, like 1, 2, 3. So you can. It's scary to trust him, but I think you can trust him. But obviously, leaving Julio out there worked out.
Yeah, Corey Seager ended up being officially named World Series MVP. In my heart, I wanted Kershaw, but I'm like one of the biggest Kershaw stans that I know. But yeah, Clayton Kershaw. I mean, I don't think there's anything else. He didn't pitch amazing in Game 5, but 5 2/3, 2 runs, and then 6 and 1 run in Game 1. I mean, Nick, is there anything that anyone can conceivably say to Clayton Kershaw to tell him that he's not the greatest pitcher of this generation?
Not a word. And I'm not going to hear a word in it. And for me, the silver lining is if somebody's going to win the World Series here and it wasn't the Rays, Clayton Kershaw got it. And I'm glad because I love to see guys like this whose legacy just, everybody wants to pile on to him all these years. And everybody can walk back their words now because, maybe he didn't have his A stuff, but you know what? He battled, and that's what you want to ask out of your veteran ace. And no doubt about it, he's still an ace, I think, in this league. And, I know a lot of Dodger fans were kind of scared that Dave Roberts is going to go to the well one too many times with him. It didn't have to, though. Didn't have to. He trusted his game plan, and that's a credit to Roberts. But Clayton Kershaw, best pitcher I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes in my generation here these last 10 to 12 years. Just a great guy, and you could tell he'd been dying to win one for himself, for his family, for his city. And it's a great service and a great story for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, Clayton Kershaw was the last person out of that bullpen. But the other thing about this World Series, or this year specifically, is that this was the last year of the Dodgers core. Kike Hernandez, Blake Trinan, obviously 1-year deal. Jock Peterson's gone. In terms of his contract, Justin Turner's gone. We'll talk about him in a second. Just a lot of guys. Pedro Baez too. I mean, Kenley's got a year left. This was really the last year for the Dodgers to get it done with this core. I mean, personally, I don't know if Jock's coming back. I think the front office made him a little too upset over the offseason. Dave Roberts also gave a nice shout out to Ross Stripling, which was one of the fan favorites, clubhouse favorites. I mean, Robert, I mean, what does this do for Dave Roberts' legacy as a manager? Do you think if he doesn't win this World Series, is his job gone?
I think they really like Dave Roberts. I know the fan base is kind of split on him, especially just postseason history of the last few years. But no, I think, he definitely needed this win. I think it silences a lot of doubters. A lot of people that were already saying, we need to fire Dave Roberts. It kind of cools their jets a little bit. I don't think he necessarily would have been fired unless they just absolutely imploded this World Series. But no, I think his job was safe either way. But no, now it definitely puts him in favorable terms with the Dodgers fan base and definitely even more so with the Dodgers front office. So I think he answered a lot of questions. The big question was, can they win with Dave Roberts? They have the talent to do so. Will they win with him? And now he's answered that question. Yes, they can win with Dave Roberts, and they can probably win again with Dave Roberts in the future.
Yeah, I'm just gonna brag here a little bit. In March and in June, I repeated on it. I said the Dodgers would beat the Rays in 6 in the World Series. I'm just gonna flex on that right now. I mean,
You absolutely should.
Alex picked the Padres and the White Sox. That turned out.
I don't know. I rode the hype train a little too much.
I think the White Sox are pretty decent. There's some free agency stuff, but let's talk about Justin Turner. As of everything we know right now, there was an inconclusive test result that came back in the 2nd inning. And then in the 6th inning, it came back that Justin Turner tested positive for COVID and was immediately taken out of the game. And in the postseason after the game, Turner went back out. He was wearing a mask at that point, grabbed the trophy, sat down for the team picture right next to Dave Roberts and Andrew Friedman. Dave Roberts is a cancer survivor, took off his mask for the photo. Robert, as a Dodgers fan, what do you think of this whole scenario?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit surprising. I really thought, me and you were talking during the game, Johnny. I mean, we were like, where'd Turner go? Like, he's not even, like, they're saying he's not even in the dugout. And then it comes out after the game, he, tested positive for coronavirus. It's like, I wasn't even thinking that. I thought maybe he pulled something because he had played the entirety of the game until the 7th inning. So, yeah, to hear that come back, it's surprising. It's like, wow, how in the world did that happen? I don't, necessarily know if it's Turner's issue. It seemed like he had the faith of the rest of the team. Mookie, stood by his side and said he deserved to be out there. A lot of the guys echoed that. But it seems like it's a fault of the MLB. I don't know why, if he had an inconclusive test coming into the game, why was he allowed to play, if that's your protocol? So it just seems like there's a lot of miscommunication, a lot of things that are still up in the air. And it doesn't seem like there's really anything to make do about it until we find out all the information of why an inconclusive test he was allowed to play, and where you go from there. Obviously, they called the Dodgers in the 7th inning and said, hey, you got to pull him. He tested positive, and they did that. So from the Dodgers' end, they did what they were supposed to do. But from the MLB's end, I don't really know where, that sort of fell apart.
Yeah, and MLB put out a statement that Turner was emphatically refusing their directions. I mean, if you're MLB, this feels a lot like the Astros situation or the Red Sox situation, where they know about it beforehand. If you're telling me that MLB did not know about that positive test result till the 6th inning of Game 6, that's a little fishy. I mean, Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, and I was going to have to bring that up, the whole investigation that they're launching into Justin Turner. I think it's absolutely laughable because once again, the MLB saying, let's get the heat off us. Everybody look at what Justin Turner did. Look at what he did. He was out there with no mask on. That's not our fault. That's his fault. So we're going to investigate him. That's crap. That's crap. There's lots fishy going on here. Lots of questions that I don't think we're ever going to get answered. And, my biggest question is the Dodgers have been in a bubble for how long, Johnny?
Month-ish.
A month. Yeah. So they've been in a bubble, and just out of nowhere in a random Game 6 here. I mean, this is what happens, and it's just one guy. I mean,
the second round of tests came back that said everyone else in the Dodgers is negative.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I'm really confused by this, and a lot of people have been talking about Justin Turner and the fact that he went out there and all of that. I get it. It's a hard time right now, and everybody wants to boo-boo this and boo-boo that. The guy just won a World Series, and he's been through a lot of heartbreak with the Dodgers, and it means a lot. It's a once-in-a-lifetime moment.
Oh yeah.
And I've been willing to make exceptions for behaviors during this whole pandemic for certain things. It's a once-in-a-lifetime moment. And I don't think Justin Turner, one day when he's older, wants to know, yeah, I was downstairs in the clubhouse by myself in a room being quarantined while everybody else was winning a World Series that I was a big part of. So that's why I'm not going to harp on it that much. And obviously, if no other player or coach that was there was bothered by it, then I'm not going to speak to that.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. I mean, all the other players wanted him there. Seager said he wanted him there. I think if everyone's okay with it and if everyone's willing to take that risk, I mean, then it's okay. And in my eyes, I mean, it's different if, Dave Roberts comes out or Andrew Friedman comes out. It's like, hey, that really wasn't responsible of him, but I just didn't stop it in the moment because I just did it. But no.
The other thing too, like, are you going to convince me that? And I'm don't get me wrong, I love the fact that they have fans there, and I'm definitely for that in the safest way as possible. But there's always the chance that somebody in the crowd has COVID.
Oh yeah.
You don't know, and you're taking that chance as Major League Baseball anyway. So it's kind of take of that what you will.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, do you have any other thoughts on the situation?
I mean, you can't call it a bubble and then have fans in your bubble. It's not a bubble at that point. So you are risking having players get COVID because you have like 11,000 fans there.
Yeah.
And then MLB, you know how they said he was forcibly like not wanting to listen to us. You're the MLB. If you want Justin Turner to stay off the field, you can get Justin Turner to stay off the field. Like, if you didn't want him there, then keep him in the clubhouse. I'm sure you have ways to do it. It's not, they didn't care that he went back out there. They don't care. And we're not going to get answers to it because it would make them look bad. And at the end of the day, Rob Manfred does not want to look bad because he got booed like crazy during that trophy presentation. So anything to keep the blame off Rob Manfred is what Rob Manfred will do.
I mean, how happy is Rob Manfred that happened in Game 6 and that the series was over? Because if that happened and then they have to, wait a day, wait 2 days for Game 7 and lose all that revenue because fans already bought the tickets and they're not going to go. How happy is Rob Manfred that this is over?
He's thrilled. I mean, it's one less big piece of drama that he has to deal with. I mean, I've said it for a while now. He is the worst commissioner in professional sports right now. He makes Roger Goodell look good, and it's hard to do. But no, he's a joke of a commissioner. I mean, how he handled that Astro situation, how they're handling this Justin Turner situation is also laughable. I mean, it's sad to see because it hurts the game.
Was Rob Manfred drunk or was he crying?
Both.
Something was up. Something was going on.
He saw the test come up positive, and he started drinking right then and there. So overwhelmed with emotion, and it just all came out.
Do we think it was just alcohol, or do you think it might have been a little something else in his drink?
Somebody slipped something in there.
Something was up. I don't know if he was just like in shock that people actually hate him because it's the first time he's faced the crowd all year, or if he was drunk. But something was going on. He was not okay.
Yeah, he looked really nervous. Like when he first started getting booed, like you said, Alex, like he legitimately stopped dead in his tracks and waited for them to stop booing until he continued. Like at least Goodell and even like Gary Bettman from the NHL, they're used to getting booed, so they know how to respond to it and they play along with it. But yeah, you could see he was visibly fazed by that. He was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're booing me."
Yeah, and we recorded this on Thursday morning, because in my head I thought, oh, Alex Cora is going to be the manager of the Red Sox by Thursday. That has not happened yet. With our luck, it's going to happen about 10 minutes after we stop recording. That's what happened with expanded playoffs. That's what happened with a couple of injuries. Every time. So Alex, by the time this goes up at 6 p.m. tonight, is Alex Cora the manager of the Boston Red Sox?
I think he is, and I think that's ridiculous. I don't think him, Hinch, or the Astros GM should be allowed to be a part of baseball anymore. But that's the way it is. I also don't think their suspension should have counted if they're not on a team. So, like, if the Red Sox hire Cora, he should have to sit out a year. But Manfred and the MLB really fumbled this bag, and I guess I can't complain.
Yeah, Nick, what about you?
Well, I'll ask a question back to you. What do you think's worse, what Pete Rose did or what AJ Hinch and Alex Cora did?
Well, that's an easy one for me.
Definitely AJ Hinch. Okay, Pete Rose bet on his team to win. Pete Rose never bet on his team to lose. He never bet as a player. Pete Rose not being in the Hall of Fame is horse. I'm trying really hard not to curse here.
That's my point. Why is he banned from baseball? and AJ Hinch and Alex Cora get a slap on the hand. Hey, just take off the 60-game pandemic season.
Because Rob Manfred is terrified of freaking Bud Selig's legacy. He's absolutely terrified. And I want Rob Manfred to just reinstate. There's no reason he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. He messed up as a manager. He messed up as a coach. Whatever. He's most hits in MLB. His bat, his glove, his jersey, a bunch of his equipment is already in the Baseball Hall of Fame, but his plaque isn't. His plaque isn't. You know how many steroid users there are in the Hall of Fame right now who used amphetamines and stuff like that? And Babe Ruth shot freaking like goat testosterone in his leg. Like Pete Rose is a Hall of Famer. Can't Barry Bonds is a Hall of Famer. Barry Bonds is the greatest of all time. That's Robert, start talking.
Yeah, no, 100% on everything. You know, Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. You know, absolutely, Pete Rose needs to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest players of his generation. And the fact that he's being kept out because of that whole gambling thing. And again, like you said, he was betting on his team. It wasn't like he was throwing games. You know, it's way past time that you just reinstate that. And for the MLB to be like, oh yeah, Pete Rose, you can't come anywhere near Major League Baseball. And then they're like, hey, Houston Astros, AJ Hinch, you know, you guys, yeah, come on in. No problem. You can manage again. We love you. Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, you guys are great. We love you. We're not stripping anything from you. We're not penalizing you that much. Come on in. We support that, but we don't support Pete Rose. It's the hypocrisy of the MLB, and it's another reason why Rob Manfred's just one of the biggest jokes in sports. It is what it is at this point.
Yeah, they'll sell Pete Rose's bobbleheads. They'll bring him in for bobblehead nights. They'll sell his jerseys. They'll promote him on anything they can. You know, Johnny Hustle. But the minute old man Pete Rose walks up there in a cane, they freaking crap their pants. Oh no, cheater! Oh. Bro, they reinstated Shoeless Joe Jackson, which good. He couldn't read. He had no idea what he was signing. But he couldn't read, and he signed the contract. He's like, what do you mean? We lost. Why am I getting more money? They're like, oh my God. All right, let's
put steroid users in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. Yes. They still had to hit the balls. They still had to play the games. If everyone's on steroids at that point, because let's be real, at least 80 to
most people were.
At least probably 80% of the playing field was on steroids at that point. It's like pine tar, you know? The MLB is going to ban pine tar and ban foreign substances, but at least 90% of pitchers are using it. All the players say
each pitcher goes right here under their brim.
Yep.
Or right here on the back of their hat. It's somewhere.
Mike Fiers is in his second no-hitter, a little in the glove. I mean, because pitchers and batters have agreed that I would rather you have control of the ball when you're throwing 98. Like, I don't feel like getting hit. I would rather take the extra spin on the curveballs to not get hit with 98.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's part of the strategy of baseball, in my opinion. It's as old as time, and it's like I just let it, and the whole steroid thing. You know, the MLB should be thanking all these guys because it was the most popular time of baseball's history. The only time that we ever looked at baseball as a mainstream thing, true mainstream thing. It's the only time it ever happened, and it's not the same anymore. Like that home run race between McGwire and Sosa saved the game. You were coming out of a strike, and people weren't paying attention to baseball. And then here you have these two dudes who are about to hit 80 home runs in a season going at it. It saved baseball. Yeah, and it only enhanced the legacies to me of every pitcher in that generation that was just on fire. The Maddoxes of the world, the Glavins, the Randy Johnsons, the Pedros. It only enhanced their legacy. And it's like I said, it made it fun. It made it fun, and you just can't deny it. And Major League Baseball knew they were doing it. They knew they were doing it too, and that's all I can say about it.
The only reason they really tried to crack that on steroids was because the media and the fans started complaining about it.
Yeah, times changed. Everybody, it's just the way it is. Times changed, and everybody at that point was like, we got to get these guys. And the media, a lot of that comes from the media for better or worse, and it is what it is.
Yeah, a lot of it's who owns the media. Let's be perfectly honest. There's 4 or 5 companies that say, hey, everyone in this space. It's different for John Henry. John Henry owns Nesson, so he can say, hey, you are not saying a single bad thing about X player, or else you're fired. And they'd be like, okay, cool. Yeah, Boston sports is a different beast. I mean, Yeah.
We don't
Nick,
talk about Boston sports. Boston sports is dumb.
Boston sports are dumb. I mean, let's go for our way too early 2021 World Series just to close this one out. Robert, who's your way too early 2021 World Series?
Oh man, I'm gonna go Dodgers Yankees.
Basic.
I think the Yankees are gonna bounce back. They need to stay healthy. If they don't stay healthy, it's gonna be the exact same situation this year. But if they can get another pitcher, with Tanaka and maybe Paxton leaving, they can get another pitcher and they can stay healthy. I think they're going to be right in the conversation for World Series.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I think Dodgers in the NL, I still think they're a class ahead in there. The AL is going to be super wide open. Super wide open. I can't tell you if there's a single favorite at the moment. I'm gonna go with the Yankees for now. What Robert said, I'm going to go with that for now because I don't think there's a clear favorite. As much as I want my Rays to be there, they don't strike me as the type of team that you can just consistently pencil into the World Series every year. So I'll go Dodgers, Yankees for now.
Alex, what about you?
I'm going Dodgers Yankees too. I mean, I was sitting here thinking when they both said it, I was like, maybe I should switch it up, go like Yankees Padres or something. But no, I'll go Yankees Dodgers right now. The Yankees are getting Severino back. They're getting Herman back. Devi looked great in the regular season. I mean, that rotation should be fine if they do lose Paxton and Tanaka, which I think they will, because they also have Clark Schmidt coming up. And if the bats stay healthy, it's either the best lineup in baseball or the second best lineup in baseball behind the Dodgers. So if everything goes right, I think we will see we will see a New York LA World Series, which I think would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think the Yankees get Tanaka back, but I don't think Paxton comes back.
I'm okay with that. Send Paxton to the moon.
Yeah, his 80 poo this year really wasn't.
Give him the beard back, man. He was so nice with the beard, and then he shaved it, and it's just never the same. It wasn't the same.
He looks like a Gary's Mod guy.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you look like that without a beard versus when you have a beard. I mean, it's no surprise the performance dips a little bit. I mean,
all right. I'm going real hot takey on the AL. I'm going White Sox. I think they get Bauer. I think the White Sox get Bauer, and I think they go to the World Series. Find Giolito, Bauer, Keuchel. Kopech too.
Fun.
Kopech's coming back as well.
Tony La Russa as manager.
Tony La Russa. I think it's White Sox Dodgers. I'm probably going to be so wrong. We all picked a team with pinstripes from the AL. Your guys just have a lot of more money than my team. All right. Anybody got any final thoughts?
If I'm Blake Snell, I'm asking for a trade.
If I'm Blake Snell, if you want to go to the Yankees at this point, I don't even care.
Come, Blake Snell. We could use you.
I can't even.
Come to New York, Blake.
I don't even care.
Los Angeles, city of champions. Rams bring it home. I know it ain't gonna happen, but you know what? A man can dream.
Don't wait, Robert. The Bucks are gonna even this LA Tampa thing up. We'll have a tiebreaker.
We'll see about that. We'll see.
We'll have a tiebreaker at some point.
All right, boys. Thank you so much for being out and everyone listening. Hope you liked it and hope you come back next week.